society tells you cheating is cheating, that it doesn't matter who does it, the damage is the same. But if that were true, why do women initiate the majority of divorces? Why do their affairs end relationships twice as often as men's? The answer is uncomfortable because female infidelity isn't equal. It's not the same act, it's not the same consequence. And once you understand the psychology and biology behind it, you'll see why her betrayal is far more final than yours. This video isn't about condemning women. It's about seeing reality clearly so you don't waste years fighting for a bond that no longer exists. If you're ready for the truth society won't tell you, then stay with me. In every society, there's an unspoken script about infidelity. When a man strays, he is immediately branded a cheater, a liar, a disgrace. People say he's weak, selfish, and unworthy of his partner's trust. The judgment is swift and merciless. But when a woman cheats, the reaction shifts. Instead of condemnation, excuses rush in to soften the blow. Her husband must have neglected her. She was lonely. She didn't feel appreciated. The very same act of betrayal is reframed as a cry for help, rather than a conscious choice. This double standard didn't appear out of nowhere. It reflects something deeper in the collective psyche, an instinctive recognition that female infidelity cuts to the very heart of a relationship in ways male infidelity usually doesn't. When a man cheats, society can still imagine the possibility of reconciliation. But when a woman cheats, people sense that it often signals the end. That awareness, whether people admit it or not, is why the moral judgment feels different. The law, the media, and even casual conversations around the dinner table reveal this bias. In divorce courts, a man who strays may lose half of what he worked for, paying alimony and child support for years. A woman who strays can walk away with the same financial reward, often with public sympathy on her side. On television, male characters who cheat are cast as villains, while female characters who cheat are portrayed as victims of circumstance, misunderstood or mistreated by their partners. There, for men, this reality feels like being trapped in a rigged game. They are punished more harshly, both socially and legally, while their partner's betrayal is explained away as the natural consequence of male failure. The unfairness stings, but it also raises an urgent question. Why does this double standard exist? And why does it always seem to leave men carrying the heavier burden? To understand why society reacts so differently to male and female infidelity, we have to step back and look at biology. Men and women are wired in fundamentally different ways when it comes to sex and attachment. For men, it is entirely possible to separate physical intimacy from emotional commitment. A man can make a mistake, engage in a meaningless encounter, and still feel that his loyalty, his love, and his long term investment remain with his partner at home. This isn't an excuse, it's a reflection of how the male brain processes sexual experience. For women, the story unfolds differently. Even when she insists that it was just physical, her body disagrees. The moment a woman becomes intimate with someone new, her brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This powerful chemical is designed to tie her emotionally to the person she's with. It's not a matter of choice, and it's not about morality. It's hardwired into her biology. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense. For most of human history, intimacy for a woman carried the possibility of pregnancy. Pregnancy meant vulnerability, and vulnerability required protection and provision. Women evolved to bond deeply with their partners because survival, hers and her, child's depended on securing a reliable protector. Even in the modern world where birth control and social systems have changed the landscape, the ancient programming remains. Her body still reacts as if each new partner could be the father of her children. This is why female infidelity carries such devastating weight. A man may step outside his relationship without moving his emotional center. A woman almost always shifts her emotional allegiance when she crosses that line. What begins as a physical act quickly becomes a rewiring of attachment, a reallocation of love and loyalty. And once that process starts, it is nearly impossible to reverse. One of the most shocking realities about female infidelity is how quickly emotions can shift. For a man, love and desire tend to fade gradually, often over months or years of dissatisfaction. But for a woman, the change can feel like flipping a switch. One day she's laughing at your jokes, sharing plans for the future, leaning into your embrace. The next, everything about you seems to irritate her. The way you chew, the way you breathe, even the small habits she once found endearing. This transformation isn't usually a conscious decision. It's not that she wakes up one morning and chooses to dislike you. Instead, her biology begins to reprogram itself. When she bonds with someone new, her brain releases not only oxytocin, but also a cocktail of hormones and neurotransmitters that reorganize her emotional landscape. Suddenly, her feelings for her original partner begin to shut down while attachment to the new person strengthens. Scientists call this process mate switching. It's an evolutionary adaptation designed to ensure survival. If her existing partner could no longer provide or protect, she needed the ability to detach and invest in someone who could. That ancient survival mechanism still operates today, even in modern relationships where physical safety and resources are no longer at stake in the same way. What makes this so devastating in practice is the speed and finality of the shift. Men often sense something is off but struggle to grasp how quickly it all unravels. They may try harder, buy flowers, plan vacations, have heart to heart talks, yet nothing seems to reach her. It's not stubbornness, it's biology. Once the emotional switch has flipped, the bond that once held her close has already dissolved. And unlike a wound that can heal, this kind of detachment rarely reverses. Consider a scenario that has played out countless times in different households. A woman who has been married for years with children, stability, and financial security begins attending what seems like a harmless social activity, a community group, a hobby class, or even casual conversations at work. Among those interactions, she meets someone new. He may not be wealthier, more accomplished, or objectively better than her husband. In fact, he might have less to offer on paper, but what he does provide is novelty, attention, and emotional engagement that her brain interprets as powerful signals of courtship. At first, nothing physical happens. They talk, they share ideas, they laugh. These conversations release oxytocin and dopamine, creating a subtle but addictive sense of connection. Slowly, without her even realizing it, she begins to compare the new man with her husband. The very same marriage she once cherished now feels dull, empty, even suffocating. What changed? Not the facts of the relationship, but the lens through which she sees them. This is how emotional bonding rewrites reality. Once her brain starts attaching to the new partner, it doesn't just create feelings in the present, it reshapes her memories of the past. The vacations that were once joyful now feel forced. The moments of intimacy feel empty. The laughter they shared is dismissed as meaningless. Years of history can be reinterpreted through the filter of a new attachment, making the old bond seem like it never truly mattered. For the husband, this revelation is shattering. He often asks, "What does this other man have that I don't?" The painful answer is nothing tangible. The power lies in novelty and the chemical rush of emotional bonding. And once that bond takes hold, no amount of reasoning, gifts, or promises can restore the marriage to what it once was. When a man is caught in an affair, the aftermath is usually messy, but it often includes genuine remorse. He may feel guilty not only because he was discovered, but because he recognizes the hurt he caused. In many cases, he cuts ties with the other woman, makes promises of recommitment, and sincerely tries to repair what was broken. Why? Because despite his mistake, his emotional core often remains invested in his primary relationship. The affair was physical, impulsive, and short sighted, but it didn't necessarily uproot his love or loyalty. For women, the pattern looks dramatically different. When a woman steps outside the relationship, her emotional bond with her partner is already deteriorating. By the time she crosses the line physically, she is often deeply attached to the new person. So when she's confronted, she may cry. She may apologize, but inside she has already checked out. She's no longer invested in the relationship she once called home. Research reflects this stark divide. Studies suggest that when men have affairs, around 35% of those relationships end in divorce. But when women cheat, the number rises to nearly 70%. The reason is simple. A man's infidelity doesn't always mean he wants to leave, while a woman's infidelity almost always signals that she already has. The difference is like comparing a scratch to a total car. A man's betrayal leaves a wound, painful, but often possible to heal with time and effort. A woman's betrayal, however, is like driving the relationship off a cliff. The emotional engine is destroyed, and no amount of repair work can make it run the same again. This isn't about blame. It's about understanding the biological and emotional realities at play. Male affairs may damage trust, but female affairs often end the relationship entirely, leaving men to grapple with a loss that feels sudden and irreversible. Unlike men who often stumble into affairs impulsively, many women approach infidelity as a process. It rarely happens overnight. Instead, it unfolds in stages with subtle signals that are easy to miss until it's too late. By the time she crosses the line, she has often been preparing for weeks or even months. The preparation begins emotionally. She starts to create distance, pulling back from conversations, withholding affection, or finding small reasons to start arguments. These conflicts are not always about the issue at hand. They serve to justify her growing detachment. In her mind, she begins to build a case that the relationship is broken, that she is unfulfilled, that her partner doesn't understand her. Next comes the physical preparation. New clothes or lingerie appear, but not for her partner's eyes. She might suddenly become invested in fitness or grooming habits that were never priorities before. There's a new perfume, a new hairstyle, or a sudden interest in looking her best when she leaves the house. Even her schedule may shift. Late nights at work, more frequent girls' nights, or new hobbies that take her away from home. Technology often plays its part. A new password on her phone, a stronger guard over her messages, or a defensive reaction when asked simple questions about her day. These changes are often brushed off as paranoia when noticed, but they can signal that the preparation phase is already underway. For men, this phase is the most dangerous because it is largely invisible. While everything seems normal on the surface, the groundwork for betrayal is being laid. By the time physical intimacy with someone else occurs, the emotional exit has already happened. She isn't falling into an affair. She has been planning it. And by the time you realize it, you may already be too late to stop it. One of the most disorienting experiences for men facing infidelity is how quickly the past seems to vanish. After a woman invests in someone new, her mind often begins to rewrite the history of the relationship. The vacations that once felt magical are suddenly described as miserable. The laughter shared over countless dinners is dismissed as forced. Even moments of genuine intimacy are recast as hollow, as if they never truly meant anything. This phenomenon is not simple dishonesty. It's a psychological mechanism known as cognitive dissonance, reduction. To align her current emotional state with her actions, her mind reshapes memories. So the affair appears inevitable, even justified. In her new narrative, she wasn't happy for years. She was neglected. She was misunderstood. Whether or not those claims reflect reality, she genuinely believes them because her brain has rewritten the story to protect her from guilt. For many men, this rewriting feels like a betrayal, even deeper than the act itself. It erases years of effort, love, and sacrifice in an instant. You may find yourself arguing about facts, insisting that those moments were real, that the love once existed. But debating memory is futile. In her current emotional frame, the past has been rewritten, and she truly sees it that way. Sometimes this rewriting is part of a broader exit strategy rather than facing the discomfort of breaking up directly. Some women use infidelity as a way to force the end. The affair becomes a weapon, a way to provoke anger, shift blame, and position themselves as the victim of a relationship that was doomed anyway. In this dynamic, men not only lose the relationship, but are often painted as the villain, bearing responsibility for choices they didn't make. It's a painful truth. Once the rewriting begins, the relationship is already over in her mind. The affair isn't the start of the end. It's the final confirmation of a story she has already told herself. Infidelity doesn't just damage the relationship in the present, it can alter a woman's ability to bond in the future. Human bonding is built on powerful neurochemistry with oxytocin acting as the glue that forges deep attachments. But just like a rubber band stretched too many times, the system can lose its elasticity. Each new partner leaves an imprint, and over time, the strength of those bonds may weaken. This is why some researchers point to a link between a higher number of past partners and an increased likelihood of divorce. It's not about morality or judgment, it's about chemistry. Each time a bond is formed and broken, the brain adapts, becoming less able to sustain the kind of long term attachment that stable relationships require. For women who repeatedly step outside their primary relationship, this cycle can erode the very foundation of lasting commitment. Then there is the phenomenon sometimes called the alpha widow effect. When a woman experiences a relationship or affair that she perceives as thrilling, passionate, or superior in some way, it can become the benchmark against which she measures every future partner. Even if that man was ultimately unreliable or the relationship ended badly, the emotional high lingers. She may unconsciously compare her husband or future partners to that peak experience, leaving her perpetually dissatisfied. For men, this is a sobering reality. It means that infidelity isn't just about the betrayal of today. It can shape the entire trajectory of a woman's emotional life. A single affair can cast a long shadow, making it difficult for her to fully reattach, no matter how much effort is poured into reconciliation. Understanding this doesn't mean condemning women. It means recognizing the biological and psychological costs of broken bonds. And it's why, for men, taking infidelity seriously isn't about pride or ego. It's about acknowledging that once those deep connections are fractured, the road back is far more difficult than most realize. Infidelity is rarely a sudden leap into the unknown. More often, it's a carefully calculated transition. Many women don't let go of one branch until they have a firm grip on the next, a behavior sometimes called branch swinging or monkey branching. This strategy minimizes risk. She doesn't face being alone. Instead, she ensures a new relationship is ready before leaving the old one. For her, this feels like security. For the man left behind, it feels like betrayal multiplied as he realizes he wasn't just replaced. He was quietly phased out long before the final break. Alongside this behavior is something more subtle: the orbit. Women often keep a circle of potential backups. Male friends, coworkers, or even ex-partners hovering just close enough to be options, but far enough to appear innocent. A simple message, a like on social media, or a sympathetic ear can quickly transform into an emotional lifeline when her relationship feels strained. With today's technology, this orbit is larger than ever, giving her dozens of potential exits at her fingertips. Then comes the psychological toll: gaslighting. If you notice the late nights, the guarded phone, or the sudden changes in behavior and you bring it up, the response may not be honesty. Instead, you might hear, "You're paranoid," or "You're too controlling." In some cases, she even accuses you of the very thing she's doing. This projection is a powerful weapon. It makes men question their instincts, doubt their sanity, and silence the very alarms that were meant to protect them. Together, branch swinging orbits and gaslighting create a perfect storm. By the time the truth comes out, she may already be securely attached to someone else with a rewritten history and a circle of supporters ready to defend her. For men, the lesson is clear: trust your gut. Recognize the patterns and understand that these behaviors are not random. They are signs of a transition that has already begun. The truth is difficult to face, but it cannot be ignored. Male and female infidelity are not the same. When men cheat, it is often an impulsive mistake, one that wounds but does not always destroy the foundation of love. When women cheat, it is usually a replacement, a transfer of loyalty and attachment that ends the relationship in ways most men never see coming. This isn't about vilifying women or labeling them as villains. It's about understanding the biological, psychological, and social forces that shape human behavior. Women are not acting out of malice. They are following patterns wired into us through thousands of years of survival. But just because these patterns are natural does not mean men should accept the devastation they bring. Awareness is the first step toward protection. So, what should men do? First, Set a boundary so clear it cannot be misunderstood. If she cheats, the relationship ends. No exceptions, no second chances. Once the bond has been given to someone else, it cannot truly be restored. Second, trust your instincts. If her behavior changes, if the gaslighting begins, don't dismiss your gut feeling. It's not paranoia, it's data. And third, choose wisely. A woman's history, her respect for boundaries, and her willingness to value commitment all matter. The choices you make in the beginning often determine how the story will end. Because at the heart of it, her cheating is not just a betrayal, it's a replacement. You don't lose because you're unworthy. You lose because the game was over before you even realized it had begun. That truth may feel brutal, but it can also be liberating. Once you accept the reality, you gain the power to walk away, to protect yourself, and to build a life where betrayal is no longer the final word. If this message resonated with you, join the conversation. Subscribe for more insights. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it and leave a comment with your story. Together, we can create a community where men are no longer blindsided but empowered with knowledge and strength.